All right, so question and answers on the
in my fanciest
Combooster.
pajamas.
Yeah. So Combooster, like, what does Combooster mean? Actually, just
Combooster was a name that came up when we started designing this because of the shape that it has. It's like a kind of like a turbine, and it is a turbine of compost because it accelerates. Like this compost setup versus a regular compost setup the same size has maybe like 5 times the efficiency. Usually a composter setup this same size needs weekly tilling, which is sometimes disgusting. It smells, it's harder to control the smell, and it creates damp soil underneath that smells and rots. So there's a little bit of rot and there's all kinds of problems. The Combooster, which is an idea taken from the permaculture design book of Bill Mollison, where he designed this one without the charcoal underneath and without the microorganisms. So I incorporated the charcoal because after making several of these along my life, I realized that the part on the bottom was always rotten. And it wasn't because I didn't put a roof on top, it was because the soil was so damp underneath that it was creating humidities over 60%, which creates anaerobic reactions and rot. So that's why the name of Combooster is because of its speed. This is able to degrade food and debris from your garden as well, which I forgot to mention. This is great also to put like garden debris, like that pile that we have over there. There's a pile of sugar cane that was just harvested yesterday in the property. That can perfectly go in here, and you will think that will absolutely clog this thing because it will be filled up to the top. But by tomorrow it will probably be here, and then the next day will probably be down here. And like as soon as you notice, you're already at the same level that you were or even lower. And that's the magic of this stuff. And also another question that you made off camera that I'm gonna answer on camera is that why not white charcoal and not rocks? Is because this particular charcoal, which is called biochar, it's made out of like regular wood. It's locally made in the sawmill close by. It's cheap, very cheap material, and I put enough so that there's a big separation between the ground and the compost, which starts around here. If I use gravel, for example, all the nutrients, all my precious nutrients that are being brewing here will just completely, like, they will filter down and go in the soil, which is good, but at the same time, that's not what I want. I want to create something that then after this, I can use. So though that charcoal is being filled up with all those nutrients, like all the microbes that live in them are incorporating all those nutrients into their life cycles and into their bodies and decaying and then dying and making more. So that charcoal, which actually has a perfect capacity to create 60% humidity or around 60% humidity. So they're always in the perfect moisture, which rock can't do. They are allowing the microorganisms to live in there, even if the top layer is too acidic or too alkaline or too wet or too, like, so many other things. So this layer is actually being the reserve for the microorganisms that are then going to come up to degrade the rest of the compost. So they're like the reservoir of microorganisms is where they live, and they're coming up, and as the juices are going down, they are coming up and degrading what's on top. And I top it with microorganisms all the time because I want to keep it alive. Also the Combooster is alive, and I keep it alive by feeding it the compost of my kitchen, and I give it probiotics. So, and this is the gut. I call it the gut, right? So the gut needs to stay alive with good probiotics. If this starts smelling or creating flies or doing something else that it's not supposed to, or stagnant, then I just stop it with microorganisms and it will restart. And it works in the same way with like a kombucha or like kefir or something like that.
And so you brew the
Oh yeah.
the microorganisms yourself.
Yeah, we brew the microorganisms out of mountain microorganisms that are dormant.
Mountain. Why mountain?
Because I mean local. What I call mountain is like wild. So we harvest them from different areas that still remain untouched, at least partially untouched, and we collect the microorganisms. We reproduce them with water, molasses, a starch, and some dirt, and we mix them up and we put them on a barrel completely isolated from oxygen, so they will eat up all the carbon, all the sugars in that container, but at the same time their metabolism will like come to a stop, so they'll be dormant, so I can preserve them for a long time in that barrel in the solid state. And I'll take a little bit out, put it in a big tea bag, and brew 55 gallons of mountain microorganisms activated with water and molasses. And I can also put other stuff in the water so that I use the properties of that other stuff for the microorganisms to extract and put into the biol. It's called a biol. It's the fertilizer. It's called biol. This particular one is designed to smell nice and to repel suckers and insects, like insects that suck or even vermin. So it's very bitter, but at the same time it has a good, nice smell because it's made with cinnamon and jackass bitters. Usually the microorganisms smell really bad, but this one in particular doesn't. It smells like actually kind of sweet. And I made this brew specifically for the Comboosters, and I'm really satisfied with what it's doing. And now that brew is actually old. I wouldn't use that brew in plants anymore. That brew is only for this kind of purposes: compost, activate big piles of dirt, activate big piles of mulch, and it's virtually free. I mean, it's very, very cheap, because the big barrel of microorganisms can brew maybe 25 of those barrels, and you can even use the tea bag twice. So you're talking about 50 barrels. You're talking about 55 gallons by 50. So I lost count there.
How often do you put them on the?
Once a week is good.
You just like you just did. You just sprinkle a little bit on there, like once a week.
This one has been abandoned for like no maintenance for about 2 weeks now. I've been very busy, and it's quite like, it's like 30 feet from our house, so the flies don't really bother us. There is virtually no flies, as you can see. There's actually more than flies. There's like wasps and little bees.
Beneficial insects.
Yeah, more beneficial insects than bad insects, like vermin. Some ants you can see. Some like orchid bees will live in the holes. So this will also, which is also really cool, is that it will become part of the ecosystem of your garden. This will be a very crucial part of your ecosystem, because some bugs need this decaying material for their cycles. So like, yes, some flies, but at the same time we have wasps that parasite the flies and control the flies. We have stingless bees that will pollinate the plants around us. We have ants that will create all those like highways of nutrients between like the ground and the upper levels. And so yes, this one's been maintained at least once every 2 weeks. I just add a little bit of carbon material, add a little bit of microorganisms, and
it's like part of the family.
And it's just part of the family. It's called Combooster. The Combooster.
Mr. CB?
Yeah, no name. But yeah, it's a crucial part of our life. Even the cleaning lady that was just actually introduced to this kind of technology, she for a few weeks that we lived in this new house, we didn't have one, and everybody was complaining because our garbage the garbage bags were smelling. We had nowhere to put our compost. We were putting the compost in different parts of the garden. It was creating rot and it was creating flies, and everybody was complaining. So they actually made me do this one really fast without having much time. That's why it's not finished. It's not even finished. But yeah, it's the whole point of it is just this gut, and it works.